The average Chinese citizen now lives longer than the average American, and as political scientist Ian Bremmer recently stated, this should be a headline in every US newspaper. How is it possible the United States, one of the most advanced and developed countries in the world, is declining in average lifespan? Maybe the better question is, how did China, whose average lifespan was under 45 in the 1960s, rise so dramatically and overtake the United States? Let's break it down in today's video. The United States is a fascinating country to observe. We have the largest economy, the largest stock market, and the largest military. Our nation is strategically positioned between two oceans and blessed with an unbelievable number of natural resources. The United States should be the world leader in health. However, Max Rosner and the team at Our World in Data recently discovered Americans suffer higher death rates from smoking, obesity, homicides, opioid overdoses, suicides, road accidents, and infant deaths. In addition to this, deeper poverty and less access to healthcare mean Americans at lower incomes die at a younger age than poor people in other rich countries. But this is not even the worst part. Americans spend more for healthcare than any other nation in the world. Look at this graph that highlights life expectancy versus health expenditure. In America, we always pride ourselves on being number one, and this graph shows that America is truly in a league of its own. There is no other wealthy country in the world that has a life expectancy under the age of 80. In America, it's now 76.1, and the average health expenditure per capita is over $10,000. But why is healthcare in the United States so expensive? If you only remember one sentence from this video, remember this. In the United States, we don't have a healthcare system. We have a healthcare industry. The United States prioritizes capitalism, and even when someone is sick and in need of help, this is a great opportunity for corporations to make a lot of money. Look at this medical bill from a US hospital when someone received treatment for a rattlesnake bite. The patient was billed an outlandish $153,000, with medication alone costing $83,000. Now let's contrast this with China. China's government is investing heavily into its medical industry, and it absolutely must, as China is home to one of the fastest growing elderly populations in the world. But here's the difference. In China, healthcare is affordable and not viewed as a vehicle to make money. Instead, having access to proper medical facilities is a fundamental right that the Chinese government is trying to give every citizen. Here is a tweet from Arnois, a French expat in Shanghai whose daughter had emergency surgery to reattach a severed finger. The bill for this procedure? Only 750 renminbi, a mere $106. When I was an expat living in Shanghai, I didn't have medical insurance and instead paid everything out of pocket. I could afford to do this as I was living next to one of the top hospitals in Shanghai, and the cost for quality healthcare were extremely affordable. I once fell off my motorbike and fractured 2 ribs. The cost for an x-ray was less than $15. I injured my knee playing basketball and needed an MRI. This procedure cost less than $75. In my opinion, having access to affordable healthcare was a great advantage of life in China. Everyone, today's video is about health in America and China, and I want to introduce you to the perfect sponsor for today's message. Everyone, meet Fume, the natural inhaler designed for a better, safer, and natural way to quit smoking. As many of you know, I lived in Asia for over 10 years and noticed that many people still smoke. Some of my closest friends still struggle with this addictive habit. But Fume is an incredible product that uses no smoke, no vapor, and no nicotine. Instead, Fume features this handcrafted wooden inhaler and these cores, which are infused with plant oils to help curb cravings. They have flavors like peppermint to simulate menthol cigarettes, and other flavors like cozy chai and white cranberry for a sweeter experience. The best part? Everything is 100% natural, with no artificial flavors, no chemicals, and absolutely no nicotine. I gave Fume to a close family friend here in America, and they were absolutely blown away with how much it helped them stop their cravings. Whether you are a smoker or an ex-smoker who still struggles with cravings, Fume is the perfect tool for you. Simply head to breathefume.com/Cyrus and enjoy 10% off your order today. And now back to our video and an important question. What is the main reason that China was able to leapfrog the United States in life expectancy? According to new research from the CDC, the biggest reason for America's drop in life expectancy was COVID, with the US recording over 1 million deaths from the disease. In contrast, China has been committed to its zero COVID policy and has sacrificed its economy to save lives. Even now, in September 2022, there are still millions of people in quarantine and lockdowns happening frequently throughout China. I've made several videos about COVID in the United States and China, and earlier this year traveled to Vanderbilt University to give a speech comparing and contrasting contrasting both China and America's approach to COVID-19. But what about the future? Will China continue to improve its life expectancy? And how about the United States? Will the leader of the free world be able to reverse its downward trend in health? I predict that China will widen the gap in life expectancy over the next decade, and let me explain why. China's government is famous for its 5-year plans, and the government is currently implementing its 14th consecutive 5-year plan from 2021 to 2025. China's government has publicly stated one of the most important goals during this period is to improve the healthcare industry and raise life expectancy across the nation. Just take a moment to realize how important this is. One of China's government's top national goals is to increase life expectancy. By 2035, China's healthcare system will be completely modernized, and the average life expectancy will be over 80, putting China on par with some of the richest and healthiest nations in the world. But why don't I feel the same about the United States? Well, remember the important statement I said at the beginning of this video. The United States does not have a healthcare system. Instead, we have a healthcare industry. The difference can be seen in how China and America have provided basic medical coverage for their citizens. As shown in this graph, China's government has been investing heavily in its health industry over the last 2 decades. Even China's top tech companies are now actively investing into healthcare. As of 2019, more than 96% of the Chinese population enjoyed at least basic health insurance from the government, and this number has now increased to nearly 100%, as China has been prioritizing the health of its citizens throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. But let's contrast this with the United States, where currently we have 28 million Americans, roughly 8.6% of the population, who live without any form of health insurance. What is the result of this alarming statistic? Well, in this article from CNBC entitled, "This is the Real Reason Most Americans File for Bankruptcy," research shows that 66.5% of all bankruptcies in America are due to medical debt. How is this happening in the United States? Well, let's take a look at one of the most common medicines in the world, insulin, which is used to treat diabetes. Over 30 million Americans suffer from the disease, but in the United States, drug companies run for profit and control the price of insulin. One vial of insulin in America will cost you approximately $320, but just across the border in Canada, the price of insulin is regulated by the government. In addition, Canadian pharmacies don't require a prescription from a doctor. Anyone can simply walk into a pharmacy and purchase it. The cost of insulin in Canada without insurance is a mere $32, literally 1/10 the cost of the United States. These stats should be on national headlines throughout the country, and it's no doubt why many Americans travel across the border to Canada to purchase pharmaceutical drugs like insulin. I personally believe that having access to affordable healthcare is the biggest problem facing Americans today. When I tell my fellow Americans I lived in Canada for the past 5 years, the first question every single one of them asks me is, "Cyrus, how's the medical system in Canada? Is it really as good as we hear?" The answer is yes. While not perfect, Canada's medical system is significantly better than America. In Canada, there is no such thing as people filing for bankruptcy for medical debt. In Canada, free universal healthcare is considered a basic human right, and it's extended to every Canadian citizen. This is something that America can learn from Canada. But what can America learn from China? I believe the biggest thing the United States can learn from the Chinese government is how to implement effective long-term planning. Remember what I mentioned earlier in the video. China is in its 14th consecutive 5-year plan, and having both short and long-term goals is how China has been able to rise so dramatically over the past 40 years. In the 1960s, the average Chinese citizen lived a mere 45 years. Fast forward to 2030, and Chinese citizens will be living over 80. It's remarkable progress and shows what can be accomplished when a government prioritizes the health of its citizens. But now it's time to let me know what you think. Do you think that America can reverse this trend and increase its life expectancy and overtake China? Or will the Chinese continue to widen the gap in life expectancy between itself and America? Let me know in the comment section down below. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed watching today's presentation, and thank you again to Fume for sponsoring today's important message. If you or a loved one struggles with smoking and want to quit this addictive habit, give Fume a try. Finally, if you enjoyed today's content, hit that subscribe button, and if you would like to support my channel and receive exclusive access to member perks, come join me on our new Patreon experience. Everyone, I have some exciting news. With the success of this channel, I'm expanding my team to bring more value to all of my Patreon members. We have some big plans to provide you with more information and news about the US and China relations. This will include more exclusive interviews, extended version of my YouTube videos, live Q&A sessions, and much more. With your loyal support, we can really be able to provide you guys with some amazing information and news. So if you aren't a Patreon member, you'll miss out. Simply click the link below and sign up today. And I want to thank each and every one of you who watches my videos. All of this would not be possible without your amazing support.